Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. I'm so happy to have you here. Welcome to our webinar. I am very happy to have you. Um, okay, some technical difficulties there, but now we are good. So, again, welcome to our webinar today. We're going to be talking about mastering your online presence. I am so happy to have you again, right? This is our third webinar. We're going to have Alisa Lee. Welcome, Alisa Lee from Maymay, which was a restaurant before, and now it's a dumpling factory. How delicious does that sound? Alisa, she has 7 years or more of experience in marketing, PR, branding. So she is the right person to be talking to us about this today. So, Alisa, welcome to the screen. We're so happy to have you.
Good
How are
morning.
you today?
I'm doing great.
Awesome.
Great. Yes, ready to talk about some marketing. As Karina said, my background is in marketing, PR, and advertising. Before I joined Maymay back in 2017, I worked in a traditional marketing role, learning lots of things about digital marketing, email advertising, print advertising, and then I went to actually Babson College for my MBA. And during that, I actually met the owner, Irene Lee of Maymay, and started working with her towards the end of business school. And I like to say that I learned a lot of traditional advertising, a lot about entrepreneurship during business school, and then was able to apply it to Maymay and our evolution as a business. And to give you a little bit of history about Maymay, we actually started as a food truck, restaurant, and caterer back in 2012, with the food truck being first, and then opening our restaurant in 2013. And then during the pandemic, we had to make some business changes, and we are now a dumpling company. So our restaurant, we still have the location, but we've converted it into a larger cooking space where we now make prepared foods, prepared dumplings, and sell them at a lot of different outlets throughout the greater Boston area, especially in farmers markets. So hopefully, no matter what type of food business you're coming from today, whether you're a food truck, restaurant, caterer, or a prepared foods company, I'll be using a lot of anecdotes and things that we've done at Maymay over the years as examples for things that you can do and apply to your business. Tried and true and tested. All right, so today we're going to talk about mastering your online presence, focusing the online world, which has become a lot more important during the age of COVID and interacting with customers. And again, how to use customer feedback and data for continuous operational improvement. And I always like to start out in the small food business world. Businesses like us, we're often dealing with low budgets and no time. So how do we improve our businesses? And something that I always like to talk about when we're approaching, especially marketing initiatives, because there's always so many things that we could be doing, is to use the 80-20 rule. So that rule, the Pareto principle, basically says that typically 20% of your efforts actually get 80% of your results. And that can be true across many things. It could be your menu, the items that you sell. There's probably that one is the most popular and brings in the most revenue, as well as things that you're doing in marketing. There's probably one that is actually the key driver that leads to purchases. So we'll be thinking about that as we go through some of these principles I'll be talking about today. All right, let's get into it. So what are we covering today? We're going to cover 3 areas. First up is online ordering and beyond, managing and improving online reviews, and then lastly, finding the platform to speak to your customers and then getting them to come back over and over again. So we'll spend about 40 minutes on this content and then wrap up with Q&A at the end. And if you're watching live right now, you can post a comment or question as we're going along in the comments field on whatever streaming platform you're in, and then our moderators will consolidate those questions at the end so I can can follow up on them. All right. So first up, we're starting with online ordering and beyond. Are you getting the most out of your online ordering platform? So most businesses during COVID have switched to being on an online ordering platform. Takeout delivery has it's become much more popular over the past year, which is great for marketing. So I'm going to talk about I'm going to focus more on direct platforms today, but just give you a quick overview of the different types of online ordering platforms that are out there. So we have direct ordering platforms. Toast is a very common restaurant POS system, point of sale system. Then we also have Square, which is also used at some restaurants, as well as prepared food companies. Shopify, if you're more of an e-commerce based restaurant product. And then we have the indirect parties, the third parties, the DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, where the customer is ordering on someone else's platform, and then that's getting fed back to you. That order is getting fed back to you. But today we're going to be focusing on the direct platforms. And these are great because we get to see a lot more customer data. And Maymay actually uses Toast traditionally at our restaurant, and we still use it for pickup, which we've now called Maymay HQ. And we use Square at all of our farmers market locations. So we're a bit of a hybrid right now. And again, during the pandemic, a lot of businesses were forced to start online ordering. And I mentioned this is great for marketing because we start to learn more about our customers. We get their customer data. Not only do we get their names and emails, we start to collect what they're ordering because they're paying online instead of a cash transaction. We can start to track repeat order rates, and a lot of these platforms, Toast, Square, Shopify, all have reports so we can look at that data. And that's really when once we have that data, we can start to make decisions about how to optimize our business. Okay, so I first want to go over some low-hanging fruit. I'm assuming today where I'm going to be talking as if you have an online ordering platform set up already. And the first thing to get out of the way to optimize that platform is, do you have great photos of your product on your platform? That is step one. Again, those pictures, a lot of folks can have quicker purchase decision if they can visually see what you're offering. So some quick tips again on e-commerce photos. A few things to think of when you're adding photos is you want images that are up close and bright so you can clearly see what the product is. So over here, we're zoomed in on our food product. Over here on the right-hand side, that's the Maymay dumplings there. So up close and bright, they can clearly see what they're getting. And then some don'ts. What I always say is not too dark. A lot of folks are either purchasing on their phone, so they're looking at your menu on a very small space on their screen, or they might be purchasing online and the icon for that picture is quite small. So you don't want images that are too dark or have bad lighting, like this fluorescent looking image. So again, step one, low-hanging fruit as I call it. If you have an online ordering platform, make sure you have images that are enticing and really make your product or menu items look delicious and great. All right. So a lot of folks say, I don't have the budget or time to be able to take good photos of my food. So I'm going to give you a few quick tips, inexpensive ways to get good photos. Number one is just to set up a background with good lighting. And this is what we actually did at Maymay is when we were relaunching our product pictures for our prepared food. We just bought some poster board, set up some lights in actually at someone's house, and then took a batch of new photos of our new product and then just used a simple phone editing app to make the pictures look great for our website. And then again, if you don't have time to take photos, another quick fix or a placeholder, as I like to call it, is to search out free stock photos that look similar to your product. So get something up there in the meantime before you can get the photos that you really, really like. And there's a couple websites out there like Pixabay, Unsplash that have free stock photo images, and then a few other sites that have paid stock photo images. So again, you can find high quality pictures. If it's just something that you're selling that you feel like, okay, this image looks pretty close to what I'm selling, I don't have time to take photos on my own yet, this is another quick way to get some photos up and get your online platform looking great. All right. Okay. So now that we're assuming we have our online platform up, we have great photos, folks are purchasing. Now, do you know which items make your business the most money? This is the next level. A lot of folks, when we run our businesses, we're too busy doing the day to day. We have our menus or items that we're producing, and we don't always have the time to step back, breathe, and look at the data of actually what is making us the most money across the board. And that really helps us start to make decisions about making our business more efficient. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is to look at our sales data and identify the top sales items. So if you're using an online ordering platform like Square or Toast, this data is readily available, which is great. You can pull reports that show you the top items that have been sold over a period of time. And then from that, you'll most likely see some trends. Again, coming back to that 80-20 rule, you might find something similar, like 20% of your items actually make up 80% of your revenue. That is not uncommon. I'm going to show you an example of May May's restaurant, our former restaurant items that really followed this pattern. And one reason why we want to do this is looking at our sales data, identifying those top items is a lot of times we'll start our businesses with lots of options. We want to cater to all of our customer types. This person likes it this way, that way. Our menus are huge, or even our prepared food items, they're huge because we know we have those guests who really like that item. And it can become somewhat of an emotional attachment to what's on your menu or what you're selling versus actually helping your business, actually being profitable. So by looking at that sales data, it'll help you make some tough decisions and some realization about what is actually working and what is actually making your business money. So I'm going to walk through an example of how May May did this. So back in 2019, we actually revamped our menu and pared down our menu to 22 food items. So I'm going to show you an analysis of our food item menu. Okay, so what we did is we looked at the items, and we were on Toast for this. We pulled a report and looked at about 3 months of sales data. You always want to look at an extended period of time. So I would say at minimum 1 month, preferably 2 to 3 months, so you can see some averages. So if you've had your menu running for a while, a couple months, a year, you have enough data to check this out. All right, so what we learned, we looked at our average sales per week, and at this time we had our sandwiches with lots of fun names, and we had our dumplings, which were featured items on our menu. Here's our price, and here is our total sales that we had earned from those items per week. And when we did this analysis across the board of our 22 food items on the menu, we learned that, in fact, 4 items, those top 4 items there, those actually made up 50% of our food revenue at the restaurant when we were open. And then looking down a little further, remembering that 80-20 rule, well, we had 11 items that made up 82% of our total food revenue. Okay, so really we see our winners right here. These are the things that are actually making us money. And of course, there was many menu losers. So if you think about it, we had 22 food items, 11 of those items, and some of them were smaller items, a little bit easier to prep, but that's half the menu. So 11 items made up the remaining 18% of our food revenue. And that was pretty huge. 11 items, that's half our menu that was only getting purchased 18% of the time. And you can see some of them were very, 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 very low. And this was a lot of work to maintain a menu this large. So once we had this data, we made some operational changes for our menu to figure out how we could streamline and start to make our food menu more profitable and work better for the business. So what are some things we did? We used our data to simplify and pare down your menu. And this is what you want to do too if you have a larger menu and you're unsure about what's actually making you money. So once you have those numbers, you want to start cutting. So again, things that are low sales items that you just don't sell a lot of, the time it takes to make it, you want to chop those items if you can part-time with them. You also want to think about cutting time-intensive items. We had a few items that were actually in the top 11 on our menu. However, it took a really long time to prep those food items. So again, we decided for the amount of revenue we're bringing in and how popular this item is, even though it's a little bit higher up there, it's too time intensive to make. So we're going to chop that one from the menu as well. You also might find that you have some popular items or not so popular items that might be expensive to produce. The food costs are really high. So if you have something that's in the middle, medium sales, you could probably do without it. It's not your most popular item and it costs you a lot. Maybe there's a lot of meat in it that is more expensive. Those are items to also consider reducing. Another thing is if you have some food items that only certain folks can make. So if you need a more specialized labor, someone more skilled to be able to produce that item, and it causes hiccups, stress to your production schedule, those are other things to think about. Oh, you know what? For the money we get and for the time and who I need to produce this item, it's not worth it. That's another reason to cut. Okay, so if you could make those tough decisions and cut down the menu, which May did do, after we did that analysis, we cut down on a lot of items that were low sellers, took a lot of time. Going into 2020, we had a very streamlined and optimized menu that really most items on there were all top performers. Of course, 2020 came and we had to change our business. But going into switching our business to a prepared foods model, which we are now, we still applied those same ideas of being simple, having a simple menu and trying to grow the things that we know that sell. So when we came in as a prepared foods brand and launched this summer in farmers markets, we only have 4 items on the menu. We have 3 regular dumpling types that we sell, 1 meat, 1 vegetarian, and 1 vegan dumpling. And then we have 1 rotating special. And in our prepared foods model, this works great operationally. Of course, we do have some folks that miss old specials, but again, it's almost something sticky that keeps them paying attention to our brand and our social media because they want to know when their favorite special is going to come back into rotation. So this is the May menu now, and it works great for our new prepared foods model. Of course, if you're a restaurant, you're going to have a larger menu by nature. You're going to have drinks, you're going to have food, appetizers, and things to think about when you're evaluating your restaurant menu is to keep the categories nice and tight and simple. So again, doing 5 to 8 to maybe 10 max options per category, drinks, entrees, appetizers, things like that. So thinking about your guest too, your customer, trying to get them to make decisions easily and quickly, because we all know that making decisions can be quite fatiguing. So it's the same thing when you're picking out something to buy, food online, a sauce, dumplings, or when you're looking at a restaurant menu for something to order. Less options always makes that decision process time quicker and more easy for our guests and customers. Okay, so moving on. Now that your menu is optimized, now what? All right, assuming we've gone through, we're happy with our menu, we've got pared down options, how do we grow our businesses from that? Okay, so now that we have a menu that we're happy with, pared down, some things that you can do to increase sales. Knowing that, okay, our operations are put together, we can start thinking about how we can get bigger ticket averages with what we're currently selling. And by that, you could do things like raise prices. If you know you have one item that is a huge top seller, which we actually had at May Restaurant, our double awesome scallion pancake sandwich. We know that people loved it. It was a top seller. We can go ahead and raise the price a little bit and squeeze a little bit more out of that without upsetting our customers. So that is something that we did. You know, prices of food are going up, things like that. So again, raising prices is something that we have to do as as businesses. And when you do it on items that customers love and make that incremental adjustment that doesn't feel like it's a huge adjustment, a lot of times your revenue won't change. Those sales numbers won't drop. In fact, the revenue is going to go up. Other things you can start to do are upsells, especially if you're a restaurant or cater. Now that you have a very pared down menu, it's easier to train your staff and let folks know what are the most popular items. So when folks ask for recommendations, oh, I know that this is, one of my top 3 items or my top 3 drinks. This is something I can tell all of my staff to always recommend to folks when they're asking for recommendations. So things like that, upsells are another way to increase sales. Lastly, in the bigger ticket average is bundles. So starting to bundle items, and this is more applicable to food manufacturers. So for example, Maymay has 3 different dumpling types that we sell regularly. And when we sell them online for shipping, we like to bundle them together. Why? Because shipping costs are high. So our packs are $16 a piece. And if we just ship 1 pack, that is not a lot of revenue for us. Plus, there's the shipping cost. So when we went into shipping, we decided to bundle it into 3 dumpling packs. So that's the minimum amount you can buy if you're shipping. And that has helped us increase our ticket average for shipping orders, as well as for our guests. If they're going to have to pay a shipping cost, then getting more bang for their buck feels better to them. So that is a decision we made to how to increase our packaged dumpling sales through shipping. And of course, specials. So another way, we have 1 rotating special. Sometimes the specials, even on a more pared down menu, your frequent guests can kind of eat through things pretty quickly, but then they look forward to those specials, and that's what brings them back over and over again. And then again, if you're a food manufacturer, things that you can start doing as you've pared down your offering is add locations and sales channels. So now you're not spending as much time managing a huge menu of items or a huge offering of, dumplings that you need to cook every week. You can start to spend more time on adding new sales channels now that you're able to repeat more of the same items in the kitchen, and it's becoming quicker and easier for staff to be able to execute. All right, so those are ways you can increase sales. And then once you have an optimized menu, you can start to think about how you can decrease costs. And the number one thing is food costs. So if you have a pared down menu, what you can start to think about is things like volume pricing. So you're selling more of the same thing. Can you negotiate with your suppliers or your vendors and buy more of that item or larger quantities so it becomes cheaper for you? And also, by having a pared down menu, this really helps you reduce waste. So you can think at the end of the week, whether it's your restaurant fridge or your food production fridge, you might have lots of odds and ends of leftover things. By having, again, a streamlined menu, you're reducing your waste across the board. You're making less items. You have less waste product at the end overall in general when you have a more streamlined menu. And lastly, another area to decrease those costs is labor. You have less time to prep a menu if you have less items on that menu. So for sure, when you have a huge menu that has a lot of sauces, a lot of components, a lot of prep work, each of those projects in that item will take that finite amount of time, no matter if you sell a whole bunch or a little. You have that set up for that project. So by reducing the number of items on your menu, you will reduce your labor time. You don't have to do as many projects. Really, you're just doing more of less projects across the board. Okay, so those are ways, once you have your optimized menu, to both increase sales and decrease costs. All right, so we're moving into our next section, which is managing and improving online reviews. So really looking at your public image, your public reputation. So we just went over all the back end, what we're selling, how to optimize that. Now let's start to look at the front end. So what are folks are saying about your business right now, and how can we improve that? And I always love to come back to this fact when I'm talking about reputation management. For independent restaurants, a 1-star increase on Yelp can lead to a 5 to 9% increase in revenue. So, did you know that? Yes, in fact, that means a 4-star Yelp restaurant making $500,000 per year could make up to $45,000 more per year if they have 5 stars. Yes, that is some star power. And again, even if you're not a restaurant, which may not is not a restaurant anymore, those reviews are extremely important and influence customer choices, especially if they've never interacted with your business or brand before. And why is that? Okay, so if you can imagine thinking about how customers find you, that guest journey, reviews are often the first thing that customers see and use to decide where to eat and what to buy. So, if you're going out somewhere, thinking of a place to eat, or thinking of something, some product to buy at a farmer's market, you're on there, you're scrolling on your phone, and the first thing you might see is that star review on Google. And so, right now, if you've never looked at your Google review of your business or your Yelp review, you might want to check that. That's what we're going to be talking about next here. All right. So, my tips for you, if you've never paid attention to your review platforms yet, is set up your page. That's step one. Most likely, if you haven't already set up your page, you might already have reviews from your business. So, Yelp automatically creates a page for you if someone reviews your business, but it's referred to as unclaimed. So, what you want to do is set up and claim your page on Yelp.com. There's also a lot of extra promotional features that Yelp has, both with check-in offers, or you can even book reservations, things like that. But Yelp, those star ratings are huge across the board in terms of influencing, especially new customers to come to your business. And then the same thing with Google. For us, now that Maymay has migrated to being a dumpling company, Google has become more important to us over Yelp, because Yelp typically is more catered to restaurants. So for Google too, you'll notice that if you Google your business, you might have some information that pops up. It might be accurate, it might not. That's because Google is scraping the web for information about your business. So if you haven't set up or claimed your page yet, you can do so at google.com/business. And in that, you can upload images, you can adjust your hours, as well as put where folks might be able to online order. Google might be showing other platforms too that you didn't know were an option for online ordering. So that's something to go up and check and make sure all that information is accurate on your Google page. So again, this is quite important. If you've never done it before, go there and straighten out your public profiles, those public review sites. Okay, the next step with managing reviews is to respond to all negative reviews. So if you've never done this before, if you do this occasionally, this is something that Maymay started to do very intentionally after 2017, when we really were trying to optimize our food model, our business model, in anticipation for growing to more locations. So I'm going to give an example of what Maymay did back in 2017. And this is also when we started working with a group called Rethink Restaurants that helped us think about a lot of the concepts that I'm talking about today. And what we did as a business is we spent about a month doing a Maymay Yelp challenge, and our goal was to increase our star rating. So back in 2017, you can see we had a lot of ups and downs on our star rating. And after we did our challenge, we upped our average to 4.5 stars. So I'll now talk about how we did that. Number one was we reviewed past reviews and identified the major problems, and we responded to all negative reviews. When we went back and we read all of the negative reviews we were getting, we realized that 50% were all about price per value of what folks were getting. So basically, a lot of the negative reviews came from the fact that Mei was perceived as expensive. And what we did as part of our menu overhaul was adjust some dishes to make them look more valuable. We also adjusted some pricing. So we basically identified that number one problem that folks were talking about over and over and over again, and we solved it. And when you go back, if you have a longer history of reviews in Yelp or Google, go through and just kind of notch, where's this trend? Is it service? Is it food? Is it price? You'll start to see trends, and then whichever one you see the most of, you know that that's your top problem, according to your guests, according to your customers, and that's the one you want to tackle first. And then that kind of goes back to our optimizing the menu. That might be in the optimizing menu, that might be optimizing service, things like that. And then you can come back to soliciting better reviews for the future. Okay, so I'm going to go back. As part of our strategies, we were looking back into history too and looking at all the negative reviews. And now Mei always responds to all negative reviews. Because even if they didn't like your experience, we like to say, we want the customer, make the customer like you, even if they didn't like the food or experience, because we know that can be fixed. That's something we can improve upon. And then, based on the good experience with follow-up with the business, ask the customer to increase the star rating. And this is the strategy that Mei has been doing for the past 3 years with all negative reviews and has worked very smoothly. And we've maintained our 4 to 4.5 star rating. So just to show you an example of this in action, this was actually during the pandemic as our model was changing too. One guest wrote on Yelp, ordered their pork dumplings as takeout, and sadly was disappointed with them. The flavor of the filling was decent, but the texture was upsetting. So here's one guest, that's our most popular dumpling. She did not have a good time with them after she bought it. And then next up comes the strategy of make the customer like us, even if they didn't like our food. So we wrote back Stephanie and we offered her a resolution. So we are happy to process a full refund or provide you with a $40 credit for a future order, showing her that we care about her opinion, and also that we appreciate her feedback. So from that, she did write us back right away, thanking us for reaching out. And also, I'd like to give them a second chance in the future. So here's a customer that we probably would have lost had we not responded to her. She tried us once, and that was it. She wrote a negative review too for a lot of other people to see. But now here's someone that we took the time to respond to. And then she's open to giving us a second chance, even though she had a 2-star experience on her first time with Mei. And then after that, we also asked her to increase her star rating, which she then adjusted to a 4-star rating based off of our resolution. So again, we don't get that many negative reviews on Google or on Yelp, but every time we use this methodical approach to reconcile with our customers. Okay, so next up, talking about the positive side, noting that you've gone back, you've looked at what folks are complaining about, you've addressed it, and you're on top of responding to those negative reviews. How do you solicit great reviews going forward? And this is coming back to online. There's so many options now, especially with online ordering and online interactions with guests, where you can solicit more 5-star reviews. And so for Mei, for example, one great spot is digital receipts. So if you're purchasing through Toast or Shopify or Square, there's always a digital receipt option where you can add a little call to action. So enjoyed Mei, help us grow our business by leaving a 5-star review on Google or Yelp. So just something there to remind the guests, especially if they enjoyed your product or your food, to help out the business. And here too, we're asking them to help us grow our business by leaving a 5-star review. Can they help contribute to our success? So if there's something that that would help that emotional calling to the guests to spread the love of your business, you can go ahead and add phrases like that in. Next up, a lot of online ordering platforms have text update options. So after they receive a delivery or an order, there might be an option to send them a text message. Usually it's asking about performance. How did you enjoy your meal? You can also do more custom things like asking for a review as in the follow-up text message. So something there as well. And this is nice too, because you can usually put in more direct URLs so they can click right from that text message into the review platform. And then lastly, kind of the low-hanging fruit, to have places on your website. So where guests frequently visit, or in email, if you have a regular email, to go out and ask for reviews in those emails. So again, Maymay has a little blurb in our footer: help us grow our business by leaving a 5-star review on Google. For Maymay, Google is more important. So we're trying to actually focus more on getting Google reviews for our business. So those are some places too with online ordering and your online presence. Think about all the places that your guests might touch: receipts, text messages, email, ordering page, and put in those little blurbs here and there to get those call to actions for a review. Especially if you don't have a lot of reviews yet, you could even be more intentional and perhaps even send out an email blast to your entire network that's focused on building a review. I'm a new business. I'm growing my presence. If you enjoyed the product, leave us a 5-star review on Google. So that's a great thing to start a base. Okay, so we're moving into our final section: finding the platform to speak to your customers. So now you assume your product's doing great, your reputation is great online. Now, how are we using our online presence to speak to our customers and getting them to come back more than once? And this can be different for each business. So again, as an example, I'm going to use Maymay. From 2020, during the pandemic time, into present, in fact, 23% of our customers make up 80% of our revenue. Coming back to that 80-20 rule, we have a very core group who is our loyal repeat customers that make up the majority of our revenue. And if you were to look at your sales data, repeat customer rate, you might find similar statistics with your customer base. So really, you could have a huge following on Facebook or Instagram, but in reality, you have a small set of customers that are bringing in your revenue. So you want to figure out, where are those customers? What platform are they using, and how can I talk to them? So for Maymay, these customers are our biggest advocates, and they've also purchased with us online throughout the year. So pre-ordered for pickup at a farmer's market or at Maymay HQ. So we have their emails. We know that they're on our email list. And that is our main mode of communication with our customers who purchase our product. And again, just backing up a little bit, there's a lot of email marketing platforms out there. Maymay uses MailChimp. There's also Constant Contact. And in POS, point of sale systems like Toast or Square, they have their own built-in email marketing. And I recommend, if you're on one of these platforms, Toast or Square, to look at using their email marketing if you've never done email marketing before. They have a lot of great options that are very intentional for getting repeat customers and repeat purchases. So again, the costs, some are free to start, and generally the whole models are, if you have a larger database, it might be more expensive to use a platform like MailChimp or Constant Contact. And then Toast and Square, again, they have integrated email marketing with your customer data. So I would definitely recommend looking at one of these platforms to start. All right, how to get started with email. If you are not collecting email at all, the starting point is just to start collecting email addresses, whether it's a sign up on your website. And also, if you do online purchasing, you're getting folks' email. So you have that contact information. Great, you've got it. You can use it when you're ready to start messaging your database. Next up, if you've never done email marketing before, it seems like a lot of work, just pick a frequency and stick with it. And it might be once a month, once a week, once a quarter, whatever you have time for, just so your guests know what's coming down the pipeline. Your customers know how often they should see announcements from you. So just pick a frequency and stick with it. Maymay did start with a monthly newsletter, then we went to bi-weekly, and now we're actually at weekly, now that we're more on top of our email marketing. Okay, so lastly, this is where you can really dive into repeat customers with automated email campaigns. In Toast and Square, they have different types of preset campaigns. One that I absolutely love is reminding guests to come visit again. They also have the options to recognize high spending guests, so guests who purchase with you a lot, spend a lot of money. You can set a threshold. If someone spends more than $300 with me, I automatically send them an email. Maybe it includes a promo code. Also rewarding repeat guests. So Maymay has a campaign set up. If you purchase from us more than 3 times in 3 months, you get a little reward notification. You can also welcome new guests. So there's a lot of preset campaigns that it's taking care of the things that you should be doing already. So it's just the time investment is going in, setting up that campaign and letting it run. So Maymay has our welcome email, and we have a couple other emails set up based off of the preset campaigns that are available both in Toast and Square, and they're both very similar. Okay, lastly, I would just want to touch quickly on social media before we wrap up today. Because social media always seems to be the forefront in our online presence. And for some businesses like Maymay, social media doesn't actually drive the largest portion of our sales. From our data, we know that email marketing actually drives more of our sales. But when it comes to social media, because this can be very overwhelming as well, we like to say just be active where your audience is active. So knowing your demographic. For Maymay, that's on Instagram and Facebook. These are our 2 main platforms that we use to talk to our audience. Lastly, when you're setting up your social media, no matter how far you're down with the pipeline, I like to say find your brand voice and share content that aligns with it. Over the years, Maymay has fine-tuned what we represent. Right now, we brand ourselves as a farm-focused, woman-owned business. We have dumplings, prepared food, classes, and community pop-ups. And a lot of our content that you'll see on our page all trickles down to those topics. And most important, the highest elevation of social media is, do you have a product or business that inspires your customers to share your story? And for Maymay, what we love to see is user-generated content. When your customers do the marketing for you, when they love your product so much, maybe they've given you that 5-star review, they feel connected to your business, they start creating content on their stories and telling their friends about it. So this is our favorite type of social media marketing, is when you are getting your guests to actually do the marketing for you. So, whether it's making your product look beautiful on plates, doing those little call to actions to tell folks, it's really meaningful, it helps our business grow when you give us a review or post our photos, to build those emotional connections with your guests is really important. And you'll probably find, again, the 80-20 rule, you have a few guests who are your top advocates. For Maymay, this is true. We have folks who post our dumplings every single week after they buy them from the farmers markets. And really, identifying those people, maybe giving them something a little extra, promo codes, things like that, and starting to talk to those top guests through your online platforms and nurture those relationships, because that is free marketing for you. Okay, so just a quick recap about what we covered for today: online ordering and beyond, making sure you have your online ordering platform set up, then making sure it looks great with your photos, going a little deeper. Once you have a few months of data, taking a look at your menu items, whether it's food menu, drink menu, prepared foods menu, and realizing what is making up the bulk of those sales, what's actually making my business money, and then making decisions based off of that about how to be operationally more efficient, which probably will involve cutting some items, reformatting them so you can grow your business. And then again, thinking about that front-facing persona, managing and improving online reviews. Once you have your online platform set up, thinking about what is the guest perception of my business, and is it good, and how can I make sure it continues to be great and even better into the future. And lastly, once that's all set, thinking about how you're going to find the platform to speak to your customers. Again, we don't have a lot of time. You might not have time to do email, social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of that. So think about where actually your customers who purchase live and spend your time on those platforms. Okay. Well, I'm just going to end reminding you about the 80-20 rule. In general, 20% of our efforts make up 80% of our results. Something that I try to think about every day as I go into my day: what is going to have the biggest impact on my business and helping to grow my business and have the biggest effect? So keep that in mind, as if you feel like you're flustered with decisions on what you should do next with your business, whether it's in marketing or something else, think about, okay, in actuality, what's going to be the biggest thing today that will have the biggest effect on my business, or the biggest thing this week and this month, and stay focused on that. Okay. Lastly, I'm going to wrap up. That brings us to the end of our content portion today, and I will take a few questions. Also, I do have a few one-on-one 45-minute consulting sessions available. So if you would like to go a little bit deeper, talk about specific issues with your business with me, you can sign up for a one-on-one session at this link, or you can send me an email at alyssa@maymayboston.com. And a couple other resources. These are my favorite resources that I use throughout the week just for marketing, social media. Our team uses canva.com for design, and we use later.com for social media. So I always like to plug those. They've helped us out a lot in our marketing efforts. Okay, so I'm going to kick it over to Karina to help moderate our question portion.
Super interesting information. I was chatting with our YouTube guest, and I was saying that I don't own a restaurant myself, but I found myself taking notes because what you were giving us was so good. So thank you very much for that, Alyssa.
Awesome.
I would like to start with a question from one of our YouTube guests. Let me see. She goes by M, and what she asked was, let's see. What is the name of the report on Toast? There was a report that you shared with us. Does it show percentage, or did you calculate it?
So in Toast, I had to do a little Excel calculations or Google Sheet calculations. But in Toast, what you want to download is your sales item data. So you can pull, if you're looking, for example, the month of September and October, you can pull your Toast sales item report, and it'll pull down how many items of each type that you sold over that period of time. You do have to plug it into a spreadsheet and do a little bit of calculations to figure out, on average, how many items per month or per week, for example, or per day did you sell of each of those items.
Great, thank you for asking.
It starts with the sales items report.
Okay, thank you for sharing that, Alyssa. So we're going to continue with the following question. What online ordering platforms are better for restaurants versus food manufacturers?
Yes. I think Maymay has kind of experienced it all. We've gone from a restaurant to a food manufacturer, and we still use Toast at Maymay HQ, our former restaurant, because we still do delivery and pickup sales. We also do pop-ups for other businesses, and the Toast platform is really built out for restaurants specifically, and we still love it for all of those reasons. And then we found that for farmers markets, where we sell most of our dumplings, so more as a food manufacturer, we currently use Square. They have great mobile technology, card readers, things like that make it really easy for more e-commerce and retail.
Great, thank you. I just want to mention before we continue that, because it was asked on YouTube, that anyone can watch this later. They just have to follow the link on YouTube, or they can look us up on YouTube by Lawrence Partnership, and they should be able to see the video again at their own time. So thank you for asking that. The question that we're going to continue with is, let's see, what are good ways to solicit customer reviews in person?
Yeah, so in my presentation, I focus mostly on getting reviews in the online world. But if you're a restaurant, or a cafe, you have a lot of dine-in guests. A lot of your touch points for soliciting reviews could actually be in your restaurant or on your tabletops. So back in when we did our Yelp challenge at May May Restaurant, we actually created tabletop flyers, so little small flyers that had a call to action that had something that we wanted guests to know about our business. For example, that we were a woman-owned business. And so we were giving them a few more points, things that were special about our business, that we sourced locally, and fed them a bit more information about why we really wanted and needed the review, and put that up as a little tabletop flyer. And that actually helped solicit a lot of reviews for dine-in guests. So we said, we're a woman-owned business, we're looking to grow. Giving us a 5-star review on Yelp helps us, it helps other guests learn about our business. And we had a lot of folks from those flyers actually give us reviews. So that's another way on site, is just to put something in front of people's faces. I always love the bathrooms too, as a good place to give messaging to your guests. If you have a flyer up in there, those are all good places to communicate.
Great. So we have another question from another YouTube guest, and this is from Angelina. She says, after you find out those main items, what percentage is good to raise your top items?
And is this, I'm wondering if she means in terms of pricing, or I mean, I can talk in a few different ways. If maybe she can post to clarify. So once you find out your main items, what percentage is good to raise your top item? So if it is pricing, this is a little bit of something you might need to test first with a few guests. So for example, May May took our most popular sandwich, which was priced at $8, and we raised it to $9. And this was actually back in 2018. So you might need to do a little bit of price sensitivity, and then ask a few people first, like, would you mind, like, how would you react if we took this menu item and went from this price to this price? Does it seem like a lot, or does it seem like, oh no, that's still a great value for what I'm getting? And that's actually what we did to land on $9. It's like, oh, is $9.50 too high at the time? For some people, most people say, yeah, that's a little high. $9 seems like I wouldn't even notice. And so we did a little bit of just quick user testing to gauge how people reacted to that price jump, and then just went with it.
Okay. Thank you, Alisa, again. Our YouTubers, they are so interactive this morning. Thank you guys very much for being here, one, and also for sharing your questions. So the next question comes from M, and it's a multiple question. She's asking, is the customer response to negative review public? How did you contact the customer to request additional review? And last, do you have a template for asking for positive reviews?
Yes. Okay. So is the customer response to negative reviews public? Sometimes it is. Our strategy is that we always directly message customers privately when we're following up. So in Yelp, you have the option to message them directly and privately. Google as well. Or sometimes we know, actually based off of our online sales data, we match up their email from their online order to the person on Yelp. So in some cases, we see the review, and then we are able to match it up and respond by email. And I do have a template that I use to respond to the negative reviews. And it's kind of similar to what I went through on those slides. I basically take those same responses that I put in the slides of, addressing the issue, offering a reconciliation, and then asking how the customer would like to follow up. So I can probably figure out how I can get those to Karina and share them on your on the channels as well. And then I think that was all from the last question.
Yes. If you guys want to share your email addresses on the chat, feel free to do that, and that way I can send you the information later. Okay. So the next question, again from M. M is very active this morning. Says, what email marketing type is most effective? Rewards per orders, free item per orders, etc.
This one takes a little bit of experimentation. We have experimented with both at Maymay. So, for example, using the loyalty program, so they have points, or also just doing, if you purchase this many items, getting a free one, buy one get one free. We also have found for Maymay is we used to discount a lot of items, but for us, we decided that we wanted to actually move to more of, I call it like the Apple model, where we're not doing as many discounts, but instead doing more surprises and delights and free things for customers. So we actually move a bit more to the free item model versus the discounted model of adding things for a lesser price. And that's worked for our customers really well. So I would say try both, and then also think about how you want your brand to be perceived and your product to be perceived. Because if you discount, that can also make your product look like it's a little cheaper versus just adding free things. That's more of like a delight for the customers, a reward.
Thank you again, Alyssa. And I think we have a little bit of time for one last question, again from a YouTuber that is watching us live. It says, do you have to have guest loyalty and email marketing on Toast for this to work? How are rewards assigned to customers?
If you are on Toast right now, they do have the guest loyalty and email marketing add-on, and it definitely makes this work the best, because what Toast knows, because if you have all of your orders coming through the Toast platform, they know which customers are which, how many times they purchase, how many times they, how much money they have spent. And so when you're setting up your rewards program, you can set up different levels. So when if someone spends $100, you can say at $100, I give them a promo code or a reward. But Toast has all the data in the online platform, and that's what you can really use, and then pick what types of rewards and when you're going to send those out to your guests.
Well, Alyssa, this is all the time that we have for today, even though we wish we would have more, because there's so much interesting information that we could be sharing about the topic. Thank you very much for being with us this morning. Anything that you'd like to add before we leave?
Thank you again for spending some time to learn about marketing, learning about how to improve your business. It's something sometimes we think like, oh, we don't have time for this. So thank yourself for spending the time to learn about how you can do better and improve your business. And thank you, Karina, for organizing.
Thank you for being with us this morning. I hope you have a great day.
I will. Thanks.
So, guys, thank you very much for being with us this morning. So many interesting information, right? I will remind you that this webinar and the other two that we had a couple of weeks ago, you can watch them on our channel, the Lawrence Partnership. All our webinars are there, so you should be able to rewatch them at your convenience. I'm also going to remind you about our revolving test kitchen, that it's a shared commercial kitchen that we have in Lawrence at 420 Common Street. It's in the middle of downtown. So we are still taking members for those who need a space to try their recipes, try their business plans, and prepare their food for their businesses. So here we are at 420 Common Street. It was my pleasure to be with you today. Thank you. Feel free to share your email before we close the video. Please feel free to share your email so I can share the presentation. If you have any additional questions so I can answer, I will gladly do that for you later. So thank you. I hope you have a great day, and thank you again for joining us. See you soon.